Hello, everyone. This is Woe here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I really love talking to you guys in the comments, and I'm just so overjoyed you guys got to watch. The show will remain up for a little bit, so feel free to rewind, go back and watch. Also, different songs from the show will be released soon, so stay tuned for that. Real quick. Um, if you guys want to do the talkback, please go into the Zoom. If you got your ticket, you should have the link and the password. And we'll get this talkback on. I'm really excited. You guys can also just put comments in the live chat on YouTube for your questions, and I'll be happy to answer them. Yeah. So let's see. Who is here? I know Raquel, you were here. Are you still here? Oh no. We're gonna play some music while we wait, as we do. Um, Let me see. Actually, whoops. Sorry, still getting used to this live stream thing. Why is that doing that? There we go. So yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to the incredible team of Coincoin for helping me with this show. This piece was inspired by this book right here, Isle of Canes by Elizabeth Shown Mills. This copy was given to me by my grandmother, and she was actually the one who told me about Coincoin and the one who inspired me to start this journey and learn about her and write this piece. So grateful for that. Yeah. This book is also by Elizabeth Shown Mills, and it's The Forgotten People. It's by Gary V. Mills and Elizabeth Shown Mills. And this is more of the history, the factual history behind Coincoin and her descendants. And they're both amazing books. And yeah, these cards that got handed out at the show, everyone got one, as you saw. And on the back, they have these questions. Hold on one second. Trying to unmirror my video. There we go. So these questions here are sort of adapted versions. You can barely see. There you go. Are sort of adapted versions of what inspired me on the journey to write the show. So the first one, the big one, is what are the histories that make your life possible? So I was sort of inspired a couple of years ago to go back into my personal history and my heritage because I was seeking strength and sense of purpose, and I wanted to know more about where I came from. So I started getting into genealogy research and doing interviews with my grandparents. I interviewed all of them, and I learned so much about their lives and how their stories and their journeys and the people that came before them actually had a huge impact on me and who I am. So I thought by making this piece and giving you guys these cards at the end, I hope to inspire you to go on that journey as well, because it's been such an enriching experience for me. Question number 2 is, sorry, this camera's terrible. Where are the complexities? So obviously once you start down that journey of going back into your personal history, you'll probably come across some complexities along the way, and I definitely did. With Coincoin's story, there are a lot of complexities in how, in her relationships, and how she eventually became a slave owner. There were a lot of things that made me question a lot of things. But I think that's all part of the process, and I think questioning the history, questioning the ancestors, questioning your history and yourself is so important. And that's the only way forward to me, is to question everything that's come up, not to dismiss it, not to throw it away, but just to question it and to figure out what we want to change going forward in the future. Number 3 is what questions to those complexities in sight. I think I kind of got into that a little bit. Number 4 is, what are your points of access that can lead to your answers? I.e., oh, Laura Ann is coming into the Zoom. Hello? She's connecting to audio. Hello? Where I came from.
Hi, I've got to turn off the video
so
now.
I started oh yeah, or else you'll get feedback.
I think I did it. Okay.
Hi, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
You're okay? I'm so great. It's so good to hear your voice.
Yeah, it's so good to see such a talented artist. I can't wait to see what you do next.
Oh, thank you, Laura. Oh, you guys.
Laura
Ann, that's right, Laura Ann. I'm so sorry. Thank you, Laura Ann. Laura Ann is an amazing artist that I met through Village Playback Theater in New York, and she came to see Coincoin and was just extremely moved by it. And I'm so grateful that I was able to tell that story and you were able to be there and experience it. So thank you for watching again, too.
No problem. It's an enjoyable show, you know? I mean, to hear American history, actual American history.
Yeah.
Not I can't call it sanitized because there's nothing sanitized about it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I really wanted to keep all that nitty gritty in there of the complexity.
And you didn't do it in a horrible fashion. You're not blaming anybody. You're not saying, you just tell the story.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And that's a good thing.
Thank you. Did you have like a question about the show or anything that it brought up for you?
How long did it take you to write all this? And how long did it take you to memorize all this? And how long did it take you to, I don't know how you do it. You know, to remember one line, that's enough. You
know? Well, okay, let's see. It was spring of 2018. That's the first time I learned about Coincoin. So I had an interview project in my Global Black History class where we had to interview an older person in our family about their heritage and their history. So I chose my grandma on my dad's side because I knew that she was interested in genealogy and always doing research, but I didn't really know why. So then I did this interview with her, and all of a sudden she started telling me about Coincoin, this African princess, and Pierre, and the Matoyers, and I was like, what?
Did she know of them? I mean, did she know them actually?
No, she didn't know them in real life. I mean, most of them lived in the late 1700s and to early 1800s. So she just knew about them because of this book, Isle of Canes, and because her mom and her relatives would always tell her stories about these figures in history. Because in the Creole community of Natchitoches, it's sort of it's like your heritage, and you talk about it. There's a few landmarks. There's St. Augustine Catholic Church, which was founded by Augustine, who's Coincoin's son. So that's a church that she's been to, that I also went to. And then there's also Melrose Plantation, which was owned by another one of Coincoin's sons.
Wow.
Yeah, so she knew about them. And then she told me, you should read the book. So then I came back home for spring break from school, and I borrowed the book. It was this copy, and it's been all over the world with me, so it's definitely very beat up, has lots of sticky notes and, highlights and such. But I read it, and it took me a long time actually to read it because it's very dense. It's kind of like biblical almost, in that there's so many different stories, because
Oh,
she starts from Coincoin's parents, Fanny and Francois, and their story, and then she goes into Coincoin, and then she goes into Augustine, her son, and a bunch of her other children, and then she goes even into like her grandchildren and later generations.
wow.
So it's like a full saga. And Coincoin's story is just one part of the book.
Could
Um,
you hold it just a little bit
yeah.
still for a second while I
Oh,
can catch it?
sorry.
Isle
There you go.
of, what's the last word? The sea
Yeah,
earth?
canes. So
Oh, Canes.
Canes, like cane sugar, or
Mm-hmm.
it's called the Isle of Canes because there are a lot of, like canes growing everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's not really an island, but there's a lot of rivers, and at one point it kind of like closes off, so it technically is an isle, and then it's surrounded by water. Um, but yeah, and this is not actually Coincoin. This is Malit Matwire, who is Coincoin's granddaughter.
Oh,
Yeah, but we don't actually have pictures of Coincoin. This is a painted portrait of Malit, and people said that she looked like her, so that's why she's often used as a representation of her. But
I
she's not the
see.
same person. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so I read this. It took me a while to read it, but at the same time, I was in a couple theater classes at Fordham where we were talking about playing ancestors and telling family stories, and channeling those people. So for my one of those projects, I decided, hey, I'm going to try to play Coin Coin. And I tried it. I didn't know if I could do it, but it turned out that it was really liberating for me, and it felt really good, and people responded to it. So I was like, hey, I'm going to keep doing this. So then um, I started also like writing songs that were sort of relating my life to her life, because I was going through a lot of similar things that she went through, not in terms of
Wow.
slavery, but just in terms of like relationships and dealing with trust being broken.
And treating
And
you like the queen you are.
yeah, yeah. So I kind of came up with that slogan, and
I
she,
like that.
yeah. And I was like, I'm not taking this anymore. I'm done. Goodbye. So yeah, so I wrote, that was the first song I wrote for the show.
Mm-hmm.
And then Emancipation Proclamation, that was the second one I wrote. The by myself, for myself, and of myself. That was kind of
Oh,
like,
now I see.
yeah, that was kind of like my breakup anthem. So, um, and thinking about like declaring independence from somebody. So
Mm-hmm.
then in 2018 for the Fordham Drag Show. It was the first time they were doing a drag show. My friend Jack asked me if I wanted to be a part of it, and I was like, sure. Um, and I didn't audition or anything. Like, he didn't know what I was going to do at all. And I I showed up, and I did my Coin piece. I was in a solo performance class that semester, so I learned how to sort of put together like a solo piece. But it was pretty short still. So the one that I did at the Fordham Drag Show was like 10 or 12 minutes, and it's on YouTube as well. And it's sort of like a shortened, condensed version of her story. It starts with Queen I Am, and she sort of like introduces herself to the audience, and then I sang Supermodel by SZA,
Say
which was
that
a
again. You
cover.
did what?
I sang Supermodel by this
Oh,
artist named SZA,
mm-hmm.
and that's another kind of breakup song. But I really loved singing that one. It was a cover, and then I sang Emancipation Proclamation at the end. So I only told the bit about her and Pierre. I didn't get to the rest of her story, the more icky part, right?
Oh,
But I was really happy with it. I had a limited time slot, but it was really fun, and people really responded to it. So I decided I'm going to keep going with this. Um, then I went to study abroad in London, and while I was there, I learned a bunch more stuff, kept writing songs. Um, and then the Fordham Theater studio applications opened up for people to apply and propose a project. So I decided I was going to propose my show, Coin Coin Queen of Louisiana. I knew I wanted to be a full length show where I could really just tell her full story without having to chop out anything that was important. Um, and I really wanted to experiment with what it was like to do a concert and a play as one thing. And like to give people in the audience a concert experience, but with a really like meaty, juicy story, like Coincoin. So I started writing. Oh, hi. Oh, you're turning on your video.
About that, I didn't realize it was not
Oh,
on.
oh wow, your room looks amazing. That is so cool.
This is where I do all my art. Well, part of
What?
it.
Oh, I need to step up my game. That is so much better. I have like
It's a
some
lot of
decorations here and
chimes,
there, but like, yeesh, that is amazing.
a lot of chimes. Even one I made. This is
Oh,
my first
wow.
chime set, and I love cats, so it has cats all up and down it.
That's amazing. I love that. Wow. I could spend
These
all
are
day in
just
there. That's amazing.
these are just chimes of cats and things. I love
I
chimes.
love chimes too. There are chimes in the show.
Oh
I
yes,
don't know.
I heard it.
Yeah.
I saw it probably the first time I was actually there. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, there's no physical chimes. It's just the sound. Our sound
Oh
designer, Maddie, put in some wind chimes like at the beginning and near the end. And every time the sound comes on, it sort of symbolizes like Coin spirit entering or leaving. So at the beginning they come on, and then the end they go on. Yeah. Yeah. And my grandma has a lot of chimes at her house, so I think that's why I really
wow.
like that sound, because it's kind of like, sitting outside with wind chimes. Just so
I would
nice.
love it if there were a thunderstorm and the chimes. That's what I would love to hear. You
Yes,
know?
that's so nice. Yeah, okay. So anyway, what I was saying is so I did that. It was really fun. Then I was writing last summer. Um, Unrecognized, that song started coming to me. I was continually reading the book, writing. Then fall of 2019, I did the Fordham 2019 drag show, so Coincoin made another appearance. That time I did Queen I Am with like a full band, and then I did Unrecognized on my own. And at that point, I was really set on having a full band in the show. That's what I wanted. I wanted to be a full
Wow.
band concert experience. But because of
When you
like,
get to Broadway, then you can do the full band.
right, yes, yeah. I also wrote it as a musical with other people in it, so it wasn't originally a solo show.
Oh,
And we had auditions and everything, but it just didn't work out. Like no one who was like qualified for the show could really audition, just because of the way Fordham works with the main stage and stuff like that. And like I think everyone in my Fordham theater community just like wanted me to do it as a solo piece because they knew I could. Um, and so that's what I had to do. I had to do it, and nobody auditioned, so I had to do it by myself, for
it was
myself, and as
excellent.
myself.
It was excellent. I think it. I didn't see it, but I think it's much better than when John Picard. I don't know John. I can't remember his real name. He played Star Trek.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, he did a Broadway show where he's every character. I like the way you did it, where it was like well managed.
Oh, probably Ian McKellen. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I can't think of his name.
Oh, yeah.
The bald guy,
Yeah, Ian
and he
McKellen.
did
Yeah.
Star Trek,
I love
Captain
him.
Picard.
Yeah, I love him, but yeah, a solo performance where you play multiple characters, that can be really hard.
Yeah,
And I really wanted to just have Coin just be there for an hour and let people into her world the whole
and it
time.
was fun
So
getting to know her. You know,
yeah, yeah.
she's she's statuesque. She's well spoken. She
Yeah.
doesn't get mad. She doesn't get even. She just gets what she needs. You know, I like everything about
Yes.
that.
Yes, I love that. That should be her catchphrase.
Yeah.
I love that. So yeah, it took that long. It took like 2 years to write it. And I'm still revising stuff, and watching this one, I'm like, ooh, I want to go in there and change this and do that, and eventually I would love to do it in another version. I After that show, I had planned to keep going with it, keep revising it and stuff, performing it live, but obviously COVID happened, and
Oh yeah. I
that
forgot
hasn't
about
been
that.
entirely possible.
That's a
So
good thing. You suspended me from COVID for a good hour or so. You know. That
Yay,
was
I'm
really
glad.
nice.
Yeah, yeah, it's so beautiful to watch, like when we could have, just a group of people just hold hands together and step touch and sing together. I mean, that's like taboo right now, you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really grateful that we got to do it when it happened, because
Mm-hmm.
if we had canceled that, I think my heart would have broken. So I'm glad we got to do it.
Me too.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but I wanted to ask, did you ever get to like look into any of the questions that we
I took
left
a
you with?
picture of them so I could answer them later, but let me
Uh-huh.
see if I can look at them now. I took them off the screen, so I don't know how,
Oh wait, I have it here
how they
too.
came
It's
out.
kind of hard to see.
Just a second. Let me see if I
Uh,
can go back first, because it might be easier if I can see them up close here. Okay, let's see. Oh, good, I do. What are histories that make your life possible? Hmm. My family history. I'm like the family genealogist.
oh, that's
My
amazing.
grandma started teaching me when I was 2.
Uh-huh.
She started teaching me the history of Mexico because she was from El Paso, Texas. So the
Uh-huh.
first person I learned about was Juanito. What's his name? Oh my goodness, I got the man's first name. Juan ben, Benito Juarez. Benito Juarez. That's
Uh-huh.
his name.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I learned about that history before any other. Before African
Wow.
American history, before American history, I was learning Mexican history, and she used to make the best Mexican food. I mean, it was so good, and
Wow. I didn't
it
know
was,
that.
yeah, she would hang the peppers around the kitchen. All around the kitchen, she'd hang these peppers. And I
Uh-huh.
thought they were beautiful. So one day I took a pepper home and put it in my room. That thing burned. It was like burning my sinuses all night. I had to finally take it out and never do that again, because I was tearing. It was terrible. It was unbelievable. But just her whole, everything about it, I just loved Mexico, and
That's
she bought
amazing.
things for me from Mexico. So I had a bag and a vest and shoes and a whole bunch of different things she would buy
Wow.
me. And to this day, I love Southwestern patterns. So
Uh-huh.
my dishes are Southwestern, my knives and forks are Southwestern. I try to get rugs that are Southwestern. I love that, and I'm not of Spanish heritage or Mexican heritage, but um, I love it,
That's amazing. I didn't know
Yeah,
that. I'm half Mexican.
yeah,
So on my mom's side, that's my Mexican side. And I haven't been able to find as many stories as on my dad's side, just because there's like this whole book and everything, which is crazy, and most people don't have that.
hmm
Um, but I've been able to get a lot of stories from my abuelita, and yeah, grew up with my abuelita in the house and my mom speaking Spanish and making amazing food all the
yeah.
time.
And that brings everybody over. Everybody comes to eat and enjoy, and it's
Yeah,
wonderful.
yeah. I love that. Like I would love to do a version of this show where like Coincoin cooks for everybody, or like everybody brings food and we just eat together. That's just so
Yeah,
great.
and something else. Oh, one of the stories in my family is my second great grandmother. When she
Uh-huh.
was 13, she was stolen from an Indian reservation in Oklahoma and brought to to marry my second great grandfather, who was not a nice guy,
Mhm.
and he made her have 4 kids by the time she was 17. So, uh,
Oh,
and she was always afraid that if she left, he would come back and get her, and he must have said that to her. So I used to wonder, why do the women in my family act so strangely? They always are saying, oh, you can't ever leave them, they'll come and get you,
hmm,
and a therapist worked this out with me and said it was because of this trauma that happened,
yeah,
so the trauma was passed down
yeah.
each generation until me, and I knew it didn't make sense, but
That's crazy. That's amazing. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, there's there's so many of these traumas that follow you, and you don't even know that it's following you until you realize that's someone else's story. And to know that, I can follow their story, or I can go down my own path. And then
Yeah.
that's your
And
choice, you know?
I kind of freed my mom from it before. She never knew what I know now. She passed away in 93.
Mm,
So, but I was able to kind of get her off of that strange, thought process, like,
yeah.
why do you do this? This doesn't make any kind of sense. You're a
Yeah.
capable person. Look at you.
Uh-huh.
But she came off it, but it was a shock to her. You know, she didn't even realize she was doing it. So, that scared person. So,
Wow.
you
That's
know.
amazing. Yeah. That's so cool. I mean, like everything we learn is kind of from our parents in a way, at first, and then you go to school and stuff, but the way you're raised, it really impacts everything about your thought process. And they're just passing you what they got from their
Mhm.
parents. I mean, everyone thinks and decides for themselves about what kind of choices they want to make as a parent, but still those things can trickle down. And it's crazy to think that we're here because some people fell in love and had a beautiful relationship and beautiful things happened, but then we're also here because of these terrible violent things that happened. We're here because a slave owner and a slave had a relationship. Like, how consensual was that? You know how fair was that relationship? We don't know. We just know that she had 15 children.
Wow.
And we don't know how she felt about it. We can imagine, but there are people here today because of that relationship, because of the life that she chose to live. So I don't know, it's just fascinating. Like, wow, so many coincidences and crazy things, both amazing and terrible, have happened to bring us here to this
Mhm.
moment. um,
Amazing and terrible. That sums it up exactly. One
yeah.
other story on my other side of my father's side of the family. Um, his father was German. Well, his father's father was German, and
Mhm.
his mom was Native American and Cherokee and African. And I don't know how they met. Somehow they met in this small town in Georgia, and she was 10 years older than he was, and I don't know what was going on with any of this, but all I do is know what I've learned. And um, they had two children together, 2 years apart, so they must have had some kind of continual relationship.
Mhm.
And he would bring a car for them, send a car for them to bring them to see him. He would give them material for them to use to make their mother to make clothing on a treadle sewing machine,
Mhm.
in the one with that huge foot. Have you ever seen a treadle on a sewing machine?
Mm-mm.
It's like this huge bar where you put your feet on it and you're just working.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And he would also, what else did he do? He bought them books for school. So that's like really amazing in those days. And I understand they used to go there, but
It's like child support, I guess.
kind of, but I don't
Yeah.
know what happened. It's like there was a disconnect somehow,
Yeah.
and that was kind of the end of it. And I've searched for years to see if he had other children. I
Mhm.
can't find any. And I found a wife of his, that he married later,
Mhm.
and she died in, I think, 1958 or something.
Mhm.
But I could never find any children. So eventually I'm going to have my DNA done. I can't do the male line because I don't have a Y chromosome. You
Oh,
have to
really?
have, mhm. Men have the X and Y, women just have X and X. So
Yeah.
I can figure out mothers in common we would have, but I
Mhm.
would not be able to figure out fathers in common, or any male relative.
Wow.
I would have to get one of my male relatives to do it, but they don't want to do it. So it
That's
might
crazy. I
always
didn't
be a
know that.
mystery. Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. I didn't know
Yeah.
that. That's crazy. Yeah, so you were saying like it's kind of like a separated family situation a little bit, and that's kind of like what happened with, Pierre and the Matoires as well. Like, Pierre went off and married, another woman. So there were like pure white Matoires, and then there were like the Creole mixed Matoires, and they didn't necessarily like recognize that they were part of the same family. In fact, like
Wow.
in fact, like in the genealogical records, like they're not the Matwires that Coincoin had, and like their descendants, they're not listed as Matwires like at first from
Wow.
that period. Like they're just listed with their first name, and then genealogists and historians have like gone back in and filled in who they were, but they were literally unrecognized in the record. Like they were they were
Wow.
literally it was obscured who they were because like they were not allowed to notate that they were Pierre's children, even though everyone knew exactly whose children they were. And
Yeah.
he
Kind of like the
openly,
Hemmings and the Jeffersons.
yeah, 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 very similar. And there are so many other like parallel families. But yeah, and we're all here because of
We're
that.
all
So it's
here.
just so weird.
I've got a funny, horrible story to tell you, but at one point, some of my ancestors, they owned some slaves,
Oh,
and they were
wow.
so bad to the slave to the slaves that the white people started suing them because they weren't treating the slaves well at all. Now that's pretty bad, you know.
Wow. That's crazy. Yikes. Oh my God. That's crazy. That's wow. Everything that I saw about the Matwires was like they treated their slaves well, or they were like sharing profits with them, or helping them like attain freedom,
Wow.
or doing like in the later generations, her children and grandchildren did a lot of like legal stuff to like help pay
Wow.
for advocacy and that kind of stuff. So that's great. But that's how did you find that story of
I keep digging and digging. I always think I'll never learn this, I'll never learn that. Somebody I tried to contact online because somebody else was contacting her to find out about these relatives. And I said, those are my relatives. So I emailed that person who the other person was asking, got no response, right? Said, I'll never find it. Then, like maybe 3 years ago, I said, let me look again. And I found not only emails, but phone numbers. And the first one I tried was this woman. And I said, I don't know how to explain this, but I'm related to you. And I started going through the specifics.
uh
And she said, call back in 5 minutes. And I did. And I've been contacting her ever since. She's done like New York Times articles on the grave sites that were down in Georgia,
uh
the black ones.
uh
They're different. They weren't well kept, and a lot of history is being lost because there really is nobody who will, write down everything that's there,
hmm
that kind of stuff. And she knows people or knew people, because a lot of them have passed away now, who had information on my father's father's father, my great grandfather, and it's, to me, I don't know, I don't want to say I'll never have that information, but the chances are getting slimmer, so.
Whoa, that's crazy. Yeah, there's so many people that are into genealogy and like you and the other person. That's so cool.
The Brooklyn Museum, they had a group every Wednesday. I used to go to it, and it was about genealogy, and they would look up stuff for you before I had as much information as I do now, and it was
Yeah.
fun. But I haven't been able to go back because so many things happen,
Yeah.
and it's just too hard to keep up with all of my life. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think I definitely go through phases where I'm like, oh, I need to look back and learn this. And then other times I'm like, I think I know enough for now and I want to continue forward with my life a little bit, you know? And then
but
whenever
you
I
talk
kind
to
of
your
go,
grandma, right? You
oh,
talk
yeah.
to your
Oh,
grandma? Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I think the most important thing is, just to keep in contact with the people who are alive and who are in your life. And I think it's so cool to be able to talk about ancestors with people in your family, who are still here. I think that's the real magic is, with people who are alive and being able to bring those people sort of back through performance or through like research and stuff. So yeah. Oh, we had a comment. My friend Mitchell says, haven't been on here for 3 minutes and Woe is already bringing up London.
London must have been beautiful.
Yeah, it was. It was really beautiful. It's an amazing theater town. I saw so many great shows over there. A lot of it was really, really interactive. There was this one called, what was it called? It's not coming to me right now, but basically, we were all like thrown into a protest in Ukraine, and
Oh,
it was just,
wow.
it was crazy interactive. There were like fake explosions going off. We were like building
Wow.
sets like as a collective. It was strobe lights, smoke. It was crazy. Um, but yeah, I love that because I really just want to bring people into the experience. You know what I mean?
My
Um,
cousin on my mom's side, he passed away at 57 or 58, not very old, but he was a tenor and an entertainer, and he would sing all around the world. He said he had an apartment in London. He keeps it or kept it there because he loved London. So he would work from the Metropolitan Opera House. He worked there. He handled $1 million budgets and things,
wow.
and sometimes he performed at the Metropolitan Opera House, so it's
Wow.
amazing. Who knows? I mean, you just make connections along the way. So keep going,
Yeah.
don't give up, keep going.
Thank you,
I
Lorianne.
don't think you'll give up because you don't seem like you're even thinking about giving up.
Never, no.
Yeah, but I think you'll get everything that you should get, and I think you should make it big. I really do.
Oh, thank you, Lorianne. That's
Yeah, because
amazing.
you're fearless, and I love that.
Oh,
Yeah,
I only try to seem like that. I am definitely have a lot of fear. A
I
lot of
never get fear, but I definitely get fearless. So
yeah.
yeah,
Well, good. I'm glad. I'm glad you get fearless, and that's what I try to do. I try to bring forth that strength and that fearlessness for you guys, and
and I
yeah.
appreciate the way you bring it. You come across strong. I mean, some people, they can't come across strong. They just don't have it. But you present, whether it's as a man or whether it's as a woman or somebody somewhere in between, your performance is strong.
Thank you.
It's a strong woman. And I loved her story. She made no apologies for anything. I just loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we need. We need some strong women's stories. And I think also I wrote it too because like throughout my life I've looked up to so many women, like my mom and my grandma and my other grandma and Coincoin once I learned about her, and Beyonce, and so many amazing strong women. And it's just like I don't identify as a woman, but I'm gonna write this and I'm gonna do this to like uplift her story because it's amazing. We need more of those stories, and like I think there should be nothing wrong with men or male identifying people to look up to women, or women to look up to men, or anything like that. You should be able to look up to any person you think is admirable.
Even Shakespeare. I don't know if you know about Shakespeare. Sometimes they use all men to do their
Oh
performances,
yeah, originally, yeah, it was
and they
all
were
men
playing
always, yeah.
women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was mostly boys, like younger men who would
Oh,
play the women. So there was a split there, but yeah, it was all men. Actually, for the longest time you couldn't have women on stage. So yeah, there's a long tradition of that kind of drag tradition that I was trying to bring to it, and I was trying to bring more of that and less like RuPaul's Drag Race, like extreme drag to it. I was trying to bring more like realistic depiction of a person to it.
it was realistic.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I have all the Shakespeare's plays, and I've had them for years since I was in college, but it's time for me to get rid of this book. And I don't know how to even get it to the library because the libraries aren't open. Maybe some of them are, but I
I think
just,
the drop-off box should be open, I'm sure.
oh, they don't want you to drop anything in there.
Oh, wow.
They'd rather do it when they're open because everybody was putting everything in there like garbage, and
Yeah, that
people
makes
are
sense.
just aren't right.
That
So
makes sense. Yeah.
yeah,
All right, Laura Ann. Well, I think we should end
Okay.
our live stream. If you want to, like, we can totally chat after that. But I think for all of our viewers, thank you guys for sticking around. I've had so much fun with you guys. Stay tuned for more Woe coming up in the future. This is just the beginning for Coincoin, for me, for all of you. I love you all so much. Mwah. Good night.
Mwah. Bon courage.